It is time to breathe again on this latest Breath of Fresh Air webcast, streaming live on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch. I am your host, Charles, for today, and I am all by myself. I was gonna say, but I couldn't hit the note. So I am by myself for this episode. Patrick Brackett, he is with the fam on vacation, but he should be back with us next week. So let's jump right into these topics. And yes, I am aware of the hot stove known as the NFL. Even though, look, the hot stove is something that's used for Major League Baseball's offseason, and there's been a lot of deals from big names, teams, or from players either staying with teams, moving to other teams, and a lot going on there. But this particular hot stove, I am talking about the NFL, and we will get to those trades in a minute. First, though, I wanted to get into March Madness. Now, be honest with me. How many of y'all have not even a perfect bracket, a, a good looking bracket after this first weekend of games? Because my bracket, awful, trashed. Now, as you guys know from when I posted Patrick's and my picks from last week, it was let's see, Patrick had Gonzaga, Kentucky, Villanova, and Kansas going to his Final Four with Villanova winning. So he took a L with Kentucky, but at least he still has his tournament winner in there. As y'all know, with me, I had Gonzaga, UCLA, Tennessee, and Auburn. Tennessee and Auburn both went out in the first round, and Auburn was my tournament winner. So my bracket is completely trash. With that said, let's take a look at who is remaining for the Sweet 16 round. And I'm just going to go through the matchups real quick. So you have uh, Gonzaga and Arkansas. So this is the West region. You have Gonzaga and Arkansas playing each other, and they will play the winner of Texas Tech and Duke. In the East, you have North Carolina, who beat Baylor in the second round. Baylor was the number one seed in that region. They will play UCLA. And then the other game is Purdue against the surprising 15 seed St. Peter's, who knocked out Kentucky in the first round. Going over to the South, you have Arizona and Houston playing each other, and they will play the winner of Michigan and Villanova. And in the Midwest, you have Kansas playing Providence, and they'll play the winner of the Iowa State versus Miami game. Now, I guess the question is, who would I favor? My team, which was Auburn, is already gone. So I'm looking for a bunch of second chance tournament um brackets or competitions to enter to have a chance to win something. But I guess I'm probably more partial toward Purdue because my nephew went to school there. So I can see myself rooting for Purdue. But then again, I have Purdue going out in the Elite Eight to UCLA since they were my pick to come out of the East region. So one thing is for sure, there isn't a team that is standing out from anybody else. I think there are a good amount of teams, if not all of them, who have a pretty legit shot to go through and run this table all the way to the championship game and win it when the Final Four comes to New Orleans. But if 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 I'm looking for a team that might stand out, I mean, look, I guess Gonzaga is supposed to be that team, but Gonzaga had a hell of a time coming out of there against Memphis. So I think they can get got. I feel like Arkansas is going to give them a big time battle because Arkansas is really scrappy and they're going to do everything they can just to disrupt the timing of the Gonzaga offense. They have guys who can get into the chest of guys like Chet Holmgren and Drew Timmy. So there, Arkansas is gonna come with a lot. Even though I do think Gonzaga will win, that's what I had in the bracket, so I'll stay with that pick. Um, and then you had Baylor; they went home, so that was the other number one seed that went home. The other two number one seeds, Kansas and Arizona. Arizona had a hell of a time getting out of the game against TCU. They needed overtime to get out of there. So it really should be fun. I know that underdog people or the underdog people are rooting for St. Peter's to see what they can do, and if they can go ahead and carry it on out. I've saw a good part of their games against Kentucky and Murray State. They're very, very, very good, and they just scrap, and that's what you're gonna see a lot of times with these games, especially when they get down to the Sweet 16 and then the Elite Eight and so on until the championship game. These teams are going to compete. They're going to scrap for everything. And I know that sounds cliche, but you can tell the teams that just get after it from going after every loose ball, making things tough, just finding a way to survive and advance. So I look at all these games and I think all of them can go either way. I mean, I guess I would give Purdue more of an edge over St. Peter's, but hey, St. Peter's has shocked people before, so there's no telling how that game could go. It's going to be fun to watch these last few games to see who can win it. And again, there is not a team that stands out that where you can say, yeah, those guys are going to win it. Obviously, Gonzaga was the favorite to win, but like I said, they can get beat too. They're not looking unbeatable at all. Arizona was a favorite as well, but Arizona just got by in the from the second round against TCU. And Kansas, they had a battle with Creighton to get out of that game. So Providence can give them a lot of issues as well. So it's going to be fun. I'll just put it that way. Um, since my team that I picked, which was Auburn, is out, I really don't have a dog in the fight now. And again, I'm looking for some second chance brackets so I can see if I can win some money of some sort. But it's been an excellent tournament, and you knew it would be because the regular season was topsy turvy too. It seemed like you had a different team being at the number one spot in the rankings every week. And there was a week where your top six teams all lost. So you know anything can happen in a one and done scenario. And that's what makes this really, really fun is there isn't any type of series format. It is either you got to be on or you're not. And if you're not on, then you're going home, and the finality of it is great, and that's what makes it in my eyes the best tournament in any sport. Now so that's talking about any organization, whether you're talking about the NFL, NBA, college football. Well, college football is kind of garbage, but even anything, World Cup, Stanley Cup playoffs, all of it, and I like all those, but this is where it's at, the college basketball March Madness. So it's going to be fun to look at that to see who comes out on top. And by the time we come to next week, we'll be talking about the Final Four. So I look forward to having that conversation with all y'all too. And of course, Patrick will be back with me, or he should be back with me. We'll see. Okay. Well, let's get to the NFL and a couple of the trades that went down over the past few days. Now, of course, we all know the quarterback, the old Houston Texans quarterback, Deshaun Watson, was traded to the Cleveland Browns in exchange for, I think, above all things, three first round draft choice, and I think they got a third in there as well. But I know there was three first round draft choices in there too. Now, look, we all know what is going on with Deshaun Watson and the 22 lawsuits that are pending, the civil lawsuits that are pending. Last Friday, yeah, was it last Friday? Yeah, last Friday, there were not this past Friday, but the Friday before, it was said that he would not be charged. He would not be indicted in charges by a grand jury down in Harris County. Of course, Harris County uh, has the city of Houston in it, down in Texas or here in Texas. So when that happened, when that decision came through, it was pretty much open season for the rest of those teams. And the four teams that were said to be in the sweepstakes were the Cleveland Browns, Carolina Panthers, the Atlanta Falcons, and the New Orleans Saints. Pretty much the whole damn NFC South. And Tampa Bay was supposedly in there too until a certain 44-year-old quarterback named Tom Brady said he was coming back. So Tampa Bay was not in that sweepstakes, obviously, anymore. And of course, we've all heard the story where I guess Deshaun Watson was and his agent was meeting with these teams, and 2 days before the Cleveland Browns were able to get Deshaun Watson to come there, they were said to be out of the sweepstakes, and it was supposed to be between the Saints and the Falcons to see who was going to be in there to bring Deshaun Watson to the squad. And then all of a sudden, you hear the Browns are able to guarantee all this money, something crazy, do it $230 million fully guaranteed over 5 years. Now, that contract in and of itself is ridiculous for Deshaun Watson. I don't care what you say, I don't care what metric you try to use. That is a ridiculous contract for a guy who, quite frankly, hasn't had a whole bunch of success in the playoffs and then had a few good regular seasons. I know he led the league in passing in 2020, which was the last regular season he played in, but the Texans were a 4-12 football team. It really didn't make a difference. I wouldn't necessarily call it empty numbers, although you could make that argument that it is empty numbers because it didn't really accumulate anything in terms of team success. But uh, the stats are there. He led the league in passing yardage that year. And I think he had 33 touchdowns and 7 interceptions that year, too. He played great, but the team around him was not good, and it's just too much for him to elevate. But Cleveland jumps back in there and they are able to get him to come to the squad. So I just talked about the contract and we'll get into what that means for their, I guess, former quarterback now, Baker Mayfield, here in a little bit. But for the Cleveland Browns fans, let's forget about the team for a second. For the Cleveland Browns fans, I can see both sides of the equation. And what I mean by that is I can see where fans would be happy Deshaun Watson is coming there. Definitely from a football sense, because this is supposed to be the quarterback the Browns have lacked for, I guess, the last 2.5 decades. There's been, yeah, everybody, I'm sure everybody has seen that jersey where you have all the names of the quarterbacks who have played for the Browns ever since they returned back to the NFL in '99. So getting Deshaun Watson, the fans feel this is the bona fide quarterback they've been looking for. A lot of people would say Deshaun Watson is a top 5 quarterback in this league, top 5 or 6. And getting him on the squad, this should make everybody better. And the roster is ready to win now. That's what a lot of people would say about the Browns, whether you're talking to media members, some of these other um experts, if you want to call them that. That's what they'll tell you. This roster is ready to go. Now, personally, I don't know if they're up there with even the Kansas City Chiefs or the Buffalo Bills with this move. As a matter of fact, I don't even know if they are the number one team in the AFC North, because look what they're going to have to deal with. Yes, you do improve if you're the Browns by getting Deshaun Watson there. He's a better quarterback, like damn near far better than Baker Mayfield is. But look at that division. You have the Pittsburgh Steelers in there. I don't know how I feel about them having Mitch Trubisky as their quarterback. I'd never really thought he was that good, but with that coaching staff that is in place, he can show improvement there and he can be a good game manager. Pittsburgh does have some pieces there. You got Najee Harris running the ball, you got Deontay Johnson and Chase Claypool catching the ball. They have a good defense, and Pittsburgh just always seems to be in the fight, no matter what. So you can never count them out, and they will be a tough out. Just if Trubisky can throw the ball any further than 10 yards, which was basically what Ben Roethlisberger was throwing the ball all year last year, then Pittsburgh, I can see Pittsburgh being a double-digit win team. I mean, as it was, they won what 9 and won 9 games. They were 9-7-1 with Big Ben basically being a shell of his former self. So if Trubisky can play any type of decent quarterback, then Pittsburgh is going to be something to deal with. They're going to be tough. The Baltimore Ravens. This is a team that was decimated by injury. Remember how their season went. They were 8-3, and then they lost their last 6 games in a row. But all those losses, except for a beatdown they caught at the hands of the Cincinnati Bengals, they were right there in all those games. And this is off the top of my head. Y'all can fact check me on this. But those last 6 games, they lost to the Steelers twice, one time by 1 point, the other time by 3. They lost by 1 point each to the Green Bay Packers and the Los Angeles Rams. Of course, we know the Rams were your Super Bowl champions, and Green Bay was the best team in the NFC regular season wise. And then they lost by 2 at Cleveland. So Baltimore, even with all those injuries they had, they could have easily been a 12, even 13 win team if they had a few things go their way. If they had a few bounces of the ball, make a play here, make a play there. They could easily been there. But be as it may, they lost their last 6 in a row, but you expect them to be better just from health alone. And oh, by the way, you have the defending AFC North champions, Cincinnati Bengals, in that division, and they were in the Super Bowl as well. So I'm not ready to say Cleveland is the team to beat by any means. They're going to have to show me something with all these people. And we got to see how Deshaun Watson is even going to come back, because he's probably going to get suspended at least 4 to 6 games when he does come back. And then he's going to have to get some time in back because he didn't play at all last year. So that's the football side of it. I understand where Cleveland Browns fans could be happy with Deshaun Watson coming there from that sense, because you feel like you have a bona fide quarterback that can lead you to heights you have not seen in a long, long time. Yes, I know you got to the AFC divisional playoff in 2020 with Baker Mayfield, and you were almost able to knock out the Kansas City Chiefs in that game. But Baker Mayfield, he's an up and down quarterback, and he's not he played with the shoulder. I mean, we're going to talk about him more in a little bit, but I personally just think Baker Mayfield is a guy who can be good, but he's not a great quarterback, and you're only going to go so far with him. You feel like having Deshaun Watson there, he can take you further. For the fans, I can also see the other side of this too, particularly if you're a woman, and knowing what those lawsuits are, I can understand people just being upset about this move, because the stuff is not clear. Yes, he's not going to be tried by a grand jury, but the civil lawsuits are still out there. So I can see where fans could be torn. I would like to talk to someone from Cleveland uh, to see just what the atmosphere is. I mean, I did hear some people who do radio in Cleveland, like they came on different platforms like CBS Sports Radio. They came on there and they were talking about the atmosphere that was there. Some say that was torn. Some say it was 95-5. They didn't like the move. There were some that was saying 95-5 the other way. They did like the move with Deshaun Watson coming there. So it does sound like it is a torn environment. But here's what we do know. We know these lawsuits are still out there, and there's no sense of any type of settlements coming. Deshaun Watson has maintained his innocence, and we have to remember it is innocent until proven guilty. Apparently, the prosecution did not deliver enough evidence for the grand jury down in Harris County or Houston to try Deshaun Watson. So, from that standpoint, I mean, he's got a clean bill from that standpoint. I can understand people also saying, look, 22 women came forward. Where there's smoke, there's fire. And at the very least, you're probably thinking he is a pervert. At the very least, he's a pervert. Because it just seems weird that you would go to Instagram to get these massage therapists, and then allegedly expose yourself and do some other sexually explicit things. So I can understand where people are just kind of torn either way. Like, here's what we do know. Again, those lawsuits are still out there. And another thing is this: the NFL and these teams, there isn't any type of moral compass. If you were looking for any of these teams to have any type of moral compass, it was not happening at all. And that's been gone for a long time anyway. They are about winning, and they are about bringing in money. Those are the things they are about. Yes, the NFL will put out some stuff about these other social issues, whether we're talking about in racism, um, you know, my cleats, my cause, stuff, whatever else, other social issues that are out there. Look, a lot of it, it's just hard to say the NFL is authentic with it, and their moral compass is completely gone. And I'm not saying all the players have no moral compass, because I'm sure there are some who do. They do a lot of great things out there in their community. But as far as the business aspect of it, nobody's worried about that. This is about making money, and this is about winning. And you're going to do whatever you think will get you there to win. And you may say you did this deep dive, like the statements we've heard from the Browns brass. They've done this deep dive. They did extensive background research on Deshaun Watson. But at the end of the day, it is about the person who is going to give them the best chance to win. And they feel like Deshaun Watson is that guy. So they were going to shell out as much money as possible. And it went out to a tune of $230 million guaranteed. Now, we can discuss all day long if he's worth it. I'm going to tell you he probably is not worth all that money. I mean, he really hasn't had that much playoff success. And I just find it crazy how uh, these guys are just rolling in this, though. It just seems like just these contracts are ridiculous. You just wonder, do they have a salary cap? For the Houston Texans, though, on that side of the equation, they're getting to move on finally. So they got the trade done. They got their 3 first-round picks. Now they can start to rebuild their team, and we'll see what they do with the draft choices. We'll see what they do with quarterbacks. I don't look for Houston to do much in this next year, but depending on what they do with the draft choices and some other free agent signings, Houston can get back there, but it's a fresh start for them. And also, another thing to look out for if you're Cleveland, you have to remember this also. Deshaun Watson, say what you want about the Texans being dysfunctional, because they are. The Texans are a dysfunctional franchise. They're a mess, and they've been a mess for a long time. But Deshaun Watson signed that deal after a lot of that mess had happened. And he basically 4 months later said, "Hey, I don't want to play for y'all anymore." Well, you knew the team was dysfunctional anyway. So why would you sign that deal unless it is, well, what a lot of things are about is that money. So you get that big contract, and now you're getting more money on top of this. So look, I don't know. Like we'll see. We know how great Deshaun Watson was in college, because I mean he was able to help lead the Clemson Tigers beat the Alabama Crimson Tide in one of those title games. The other one, he dissected them for over 400 yards passing, and they just didn't have enough defense to slow him down. So we know what he's capable of. It really hasn't equated in the pros, but we'll see. The main thing is you just want him to go ahead and get all this stuff taken care of, because this is going to be hanging over his head, the franchise's head, and they're gonna have to continue to answer these questions until all this stuff gets cleared up. Time will tell. I mean, apparently Cleveland is ready for all that could come. We'll see how everything works out. But again, I can understand both sides of the equation, and if there's a fan that feels bad about it, I'm not going to say anything to him. If there's a fan that feels good about that, I mean, I can understand that as well. It's just all about, I guess, looking at multiple perspectives. And I guess you just let the chips fall where they may. But it's on the Browns. They're the ones who said they can overlook all this and say, yeah, bring them onto the squad. So we'll see how all that works out. Moving on to the other trade that happened yesterday between the Atlanta Falcons and Indianapolis Colts. So the Atlanta Falcons traded quarterback Matt Ryan, a longtime quarterback there. He played his whole career with the Falcons. We know he was a MVP back in 2016. They went to the Super Bowl. We all know what happened with that 28-3 uh, blown lead against the New England Patriots in that Super Bowl. But he gets traded to the Indianapolis Colts for a third round pick. Now, I will start with the Colts here. The Colts, okay. I'm still wondering what their plan is at the quarterback position. And it didn't help that Andrew Luck retired on them because this was supposed to be the guy that was going to be there forever. But he retired and they've been having a revolving door at quarterbacks ever since, with the latest guy being Carson Wentz, who they traded to the Washington Commanders for a couple of third round picks, I believe. So you get Matt Ryan to come in here. I'm wondering how much of an upgrade is this, or this is. I would say it's a slight upgrade, I guess. But again, it's not like Carson Wentz played terrible. He had good numbers with the Colts. 27 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. Everything came crashing down, of course, in the last game of the regular season against the Jacksonville Jaguars. And Carson Wentz didn't look good, but then again, the whole Colts team didn't look good. They just looked like a team that showed up and felt like by showing up, they were going to win that game. They felt like the Jaguars were going to just not show up, just mail in the season. And then the Colts ended up getting their asses kicked. So that's what happened. And I feel like Carson Wentz we kind of became the sacrificial lamb. He became the easy target. And I get it. I understand when he looked bad, he looked bad. But overall, he was a good quarterback there. He just kind of just threw up on himself in the crucial moments. But the whole team was bad. They were not ready to play that game. That is on the coaching staff. That is on Frank Wright, uh, the other the defensive coordinator Matt Eberflus, who is now the head coach of the Chicago Bears. And you've heard me say, I don't think the anybody from that Colts coaching staff should be eligible for a job after that performance against Jacksonville. But they decided to move on from Carson Wentz. You can make whatever out of the report saying he's not really being a leader. He seemed to be a guy who players didn't really get along with. I mean, I don't know. Those reports are either here or there. Um, but you bring Matt Ryan in, and I'm not seeing how they're going to get too much better. Now, this was a fringe playoff team as was. And they made the playoffs with Phillip Rivers playing quarterback in 2020, and then they missed the playoffs this past season. I still look at the Colts as a team that's going to be around the 9-10 win mark, probably going out in the wild card round. And a lot of people say this is a roster that's ready to win now. I think they have a good running back in Jonathan Taylor, one of the best. They have a very good offensive line and they have a solid defense. But there are some other areas where they're lacking on. And if they can't get the quarterback, which I guess they feel Matt Ryan is that guy, then they're going to continue to struggle in terms of making any big time noise in terms of making any type of big time noise to make a run out of the Super Bowl, to make a legitimate run in the AFC playoff picture. So I don't know. I mean, I guess I would like to get y'all thoughts on that to see where y'all feel this is with the Colts. But I don't see a whole bunch of improvement there with Matt Ryan. And because of Matt Ryan and where he's at in his career, it won't be too long before the Colts are right back in the picture looking for another quarterback. This is because I don't see Matt Ryan really being the quarterback for another 4 or 5 years. I think he has 1, 2 years max. He might find a fountain of youth. I don't know. Maybe he gets with Tom Brady. He gets on the TB12 method and he's able to extend his career. But I don't see good Matt Ryan happening. Now, there's more. He definitely has more with the Colts than what he had with the Falcons this past year. But yeah, I just don't know. I don't see that move and say, "Ooh, the Colts are a Super Bowl contender." I'm not quite seeing that with Matt Ryan as the quarterback. But I could be wrong. We'll see. The AFC though is loaded. As for the Falcons, it's time for them to start over. You weren't doing anything with Matt Ryan anyway. I actually had a conversation with Patrick about this yesterday, and he sent me the text asking me what I think about it. And I said, well, for the Colts, yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, honestly, the way quarterbacks are going, I would have thought the Colts could have got, or excuse me, that the Falcons could have got more back for Matt Ryan, maybe a second round pick. But I mean, I guess you just had to do what you had to do to make sure you didn't pay him that roster bonus. But it is time for the Falcons to start over. It's time for them to get a new start and just rebuild that whole thing. You went all in, you almost got a Super Bowl title out of it, and you just got saddled with bad contracts, honestly. And now you have to try to just rebuild and start over. And that's okay. You don't want to be this team that's around 7 or 8 wins in the middle of the pack. There's nothing coming out of that. So just go ahead and start over. Either you're going to try to double down, go all in, or just start over completely. I feel like this is the Falcons starting over completely. They signed Marcus Mariota. This guy is a stopgap quarterback. I don't see him starting for a year if he's able to start at all. And you're just gonna have to rebuild everything. The Falcons need as many picks as possible to just rebuild the team because they have been muddling around mediocrity for far too long. So it was a good thing for them to trade Matt Ryan and give him a chance to maybe get a Super Bowl or be in a better position to be in a Super Bowl. And at the same time, I mean, you just had a new head coach come in there, a new general manager come in there. So yeah, just go ahead, start it on over and see what happens. I would just warn the people, and I told Patrick this too. I would warn the people in Atlanta. There could be some rough years ahead. So don't expect Atlanta to be contending for anything because they have to rebuild and it's about time to start that process. So, I mentioned Baker Mayfield because, of course, people are wondering where is he going to go after the Browns went and got Deshaun Watson. Well, I know one place Baker Mayfield is going right away, and that is right into our STFU club. That's right, y'all. Baker Mayfield is that new member because he wanted to go and write this breakup letter before the breakup happened. Now, I guess you see the writing on the wall and you know what's going on. The Browns obviously wanted a chance to get Deshaun Watson, and they went and got him. And this was going to upset Baker Mayfield. Now we all hear about the chip on his shoulder and him feeling like this is a slight. Of course, he's bent, he's pissed about the Browns making this move, and he's saying he's not showing up to training camp, whatever the case. Okay, cool. No, whatever. The Browns have Deshaun Watson, so really they could just kind of just have him sit there because I guess they did pick up his option. But look, Baker Mayfield hasn't shown he's even that great of a quarterback. You know, he had a good year in 2020, but in 2019, remember 2019 when the Browns were supposed to be this Super Bowl favorite? Nah, they didn't do anything that year. He almost had more interceptions than touchdowns. And that was pretty much the case this year. Now, look, the man is tough. He played past a torn labrum or through a torn labrum in his shoulder. And I know you guys remember from shows past where I was saying maybe the Browns should just sit him down. He's doing more harm than good. He just the labrum is just affecting his play way too much. But they decided to keep him in there, and you got what you got. So look, I can understand Baker being upset about what he has given to the squad and being out there through this injury. But again, the NFL, they don't have any moral compass. They don't have any moral compass at all. Those teams, they are about winning. This is a business, a cutthroat business, and hell, life is a cutthroat business if you want to go there. But the Browns they were gonna explore this, and Baker Mayfield at the end of the day, he has to play better. I'm sure if he was playing better, and I get the injury, but if he was playing better, I don't think the Browns would be as willing to go after Deshaun Watson like they did. This is a number one overall draft choice because that's what Baker Mayfield was in 2018, the number one overall draft choice. And back then, I mean, I had that. Y'all know me. I'm a Texas Longhorn fan, so I saw Baker Mayfield play in Oklahoma. I saw that year when he got the Heisman. That team was loaded, loaded on offense, and I never saw in him that this guy was worthy of a number one pick. He's just not that good. He's a good quarterback, but he's not a guy who's going to elevate you. He's not a guy who's going to take you to all these different heights. He's solid. And if he's going to be solid, then you better have a good team around him all over the field, not just in some parts. You look at the Browns roster now, I mean, they have good running backs, very good running backs, as a matter of fact. Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt have a good offensive line. They're trying to rebuild the receiving core. I don't know how you feel about Amari Cooper. I mean, I don't feel like Amari Cooper is a bona fide number one, but he's good. He's all right. And then you have a pretty solid defense. But when it came to playing against the better teams, the Browns kind of got exposed. And when that happens, the quarterback has to be able to elevate you. And Baker Mayfield was not doing that. So where I don't know where he's going to go. I don't know where he might get traded, where he would end up going. But again, if what are the teams out there? What, the Seattle Seahawks, maybe the Carolina Panthers? Is he making those teams better? I would say no. I don't see where Baker Mayfield is going to come on there and just be this huge difference maker. He just hasn't shown it. But that breakup letter over here basically whining because Cleveland went to go get Deshaun Watson. Stop crying, Baker. Just stop it, man. It's a business, and any one of these quarterbacks, look, man, you could be gone. You could get traded at any time. Nobody is irreplaceable here. So to me, look, man, I get it. I understand what his personality has been, but he's whiny. Baker Mayfield is whiny. He's been whining. He whined all through the season. He was getting snipey with the fans because the fans were booing him from his bad play. I mean, play better. Simply put, if you don't want to get booed, go out there and play better. And this was just him just getting on social media, lashing out at people. I mean, stop. Just stop lashing out. Just play better. That's what you have to do. So wherever you get traded to, just go ahead and play better. But for now, you're on that STFU club. Simply put, welcome to the club, Baker. Welcome to the club. Finally, to wrap up this edition of the Breath of Fresh Air webcast, so for the UFC fans out there, and I like the UFC as well. There was a fight recently between Kobe Covington and Jorge Masvidal. And Covington won that fight by decision. These two dudes, if you haven't heard the story, they were very, very, very good friends. And all of a sudden, things went way, way south. And they just simply do not like each other. As a matter of fact, I think hate, normally I would say that's a strong word, but that's where it is. They hate each other. So Covington won the fight in the octagon. Now, I say in the octagon because apparently there was another fight between them yesterday. I guess Kobe Covington was at a steakhouse in Miami, down in Miami Beach. And of course, Masvidal is from Miami. Covington lives there. So I guess he was at this steakhouse on the beach and he got tagged on a post. I don't remember if it was Instagram or Twitter or Facebook, but he got tagged on this Twitch or on the Twitch. He got tagged on this post, and apparently this was Covington. I guess he said that he was the king of Miami. I won't say the other words because I guess there were some other choice words that I won't say on this show. But apparently, a dude, which I guess is identified as Masvidal, met him out front in the steakhouse, and I guess there was an altercation that ensued, and Covington lost a tooth. And Masvidal is, I guess, wanted on battery and felony charges now. Or, I mean, he could be wanted on there. Now, there's still a lot of reports to come out from this, and a lot of, I guess, it just seems to be little dribbles and drabs, if that's a word, coming out to see what all happened here. But yeah, apparently they're not done fighting, and you have charges that are potentially coming. Now, look, if you've heard Jorge Masvidal speak, this is a guy who he he's come a long way. He used to fight and in the street, and he fought his way to create a good career for himself in the UFC. Be as it may, you cannot go meeting people in the street and fighting them. You just can't do it. You can't do it, or you're gonna catch the law. So, I mean, hopefully these dudes, they can settle their stuff uh just civilly, I guess. It doesn't look like they're gonna be the best of friends. They were friends before, but now they are just common, just enemies, and that's what it's gonna be with them. But hopefully you don't want to see anybody throw their career away by catching a case, and that appears to be the situation facing Jorge Masvidal right now. So more to come on that story, but until then, that will do it for this edition of the Breath of Fresh Air webcast. So y'all make sure y'all catch us on the Breath of Fresh Air YouTube channel. Make sure you go there, visit that, and smash that subscribe button, and keep the lights coming on the Breath of Fresh Air Facebook page. Like I said, Patrick should be back with us next week. In the meantime, I appreciate y'all watching. I appreciate y'all coming through and taking a look, whether you catch the live show or you catch it when I repost it on the different social medias. Appreciate all the love y'all sent, and comments that have been left. I appreciate it all, and the best is yet to come for this product. So, everybody, take it easy. Y'all have a good rest of the week and enjoy the rest of March Madness. And we will talk next week. Take care.